A question that comes up often from injured workers who don't have attorneys is, when am I going to get my lost wages? Or if my doctor takes me off work, how do I collect my lost wages? Well, I will say lost wages is a bit of a wrong phrase because in reality in workers' compensation, you're not going to get lost wages. You will get temporary disability with the right facts. So let's run through a few of the considerations that play into temporary disability. First, we're going to deal with only an accepted claim. So if the insurance company has denied your claim, if it's denied completely, they will not pay temporary disability. You may be able to collect disability benefits from the state disability, from EDD, but that's a separate video. But the insurance company will not pay temporary disability until the claim is accepted. So let's say claim is accepted. Now your doctor takes you off work completely. You are temporarily, totally disabled. Or your doctor puts you on work restrictions. So no very heavy lifting, no repetitive bending and stooping, something along those lines. And your employer cannot accommodate those restrictions. In that instance, when we have a treating doctor who the insurance company isn't disputing, because that's another video as well, treating doctor takes you off work or puts you on restrictions the employer cannot accommodate if you are off work for more than 3 days. So the first 3 days, you're not going to get paid. If you're only off 3 days and you go back to work, there's no temporary disability that will be paid. But you're off work more than 3 days. In that case, the insurance company will pick up temporary disability. They'll go back and they'll pay for those 3 days that you were off, and then they'll issue checks every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, they'll send out new temporary disability, assuming the doctor keeps you off work or keeps you on the restrictions that your employer cannot accommodate, and assuming that you're not working elsewhere, that you are off work due to your workers' compensation injury. So how long do those benefits last? They can last, well, it depends on the date of injury. For most injuries recently, the rule is 104 weeks of temporary disability is the maximum you can get, and that's within 5 years from the date of injury. So 104 weeks, maybe it's broken up, you're off work for a while due to surgery, you go back to work for several months, you're off work again. The insurance company will pay up to 104 weeks of temporary disability. Now, earlier I mentioned the EDD. That's another video, but I will say that the EDD benefits do factor in if the insurance company goes back and reimburses them. So let's say you're off work for 6 months. The claim is denied, so EDD is paying benefits. The insurance company later accepts your claim. They go back and they pay that 6 months of benefits to the EDD. The insurance company gets to count that under current case law. They get to count that time that they paid the EDD against the 104-week maximum. So we've covered when it starts. We cover how long it goes. When does it end? It ends when either a doctor says your condition is permanent and stationary, so not expected to improve with or without treatment in the next year or so, and you can go back to work, or when your treating doctor releases you to work and you're able to go back to work because either you can handle it, your employer can accommodate it, but somehow you go back to work based on a change in your condition in the medical reporting. So that is one of the reasons you will see insurance companies sometimes will push for a QME, because if your treating doctor has you off work, but a QME says that you can go back to work, that may give the insurance company a basis to stop your temporary disability if they have medical reporting and if it's more persuasive than that of the treating physician. So we have not paid for the first 3 days, but they'll go back and pick that up to 104 weeks within 5 years based on the medical reporting and when it ends. So let's do a little bit of math just because math is fun. How is it calculated? How do they figure out how much to pay you? I will say that it's paid are based off of your average weekly wage. Now, in your head, you may be thinking, well, I get paid, $12 an hour. I work 36 hours a week. Sometimes I get an hour and a half of overtime. The best thing to use are numbers from the employer that show your wages, and usually the insurance company will request that from the employer. They will get the wages that you earned for 52 weeks leading up to your date of injury, because the labor code looks at that 52 weeks, the 1 year before your injury, as the best way of looking at your average weekly wage. And then they use that to calculate your temporary disability rate. So a few more provisions that go in there. There is a state minimum average weekly wage. So if you make less than that, it gets bumped up. There is a state maximum temporary disability rate. So if you're making $400,000 a year in your salary, it will get lowered. So what the insurance company will do is take the 52-week numbers, so how much you made over the 52 weeks leading up to the date of injury, and there's other ways of calculating it as well. That would likely be best in another video. But they'll take that. So let's say, a little bit of math. I'll put some numbers up on the screen. Let's say you made $44,200 in the 52 weeks leading up to the date of injury. What the insurance company will do is divide that $44,200 by 52 weeks. Because there's 52 weeks in a year, that gets your average weekly wages. It will include your base salary. It will include any overtime that you made as well. If you got a pay raise in there, that will be reflected within the numbers. So $44,200 over the last 52 weeks divided by 52, that works out to $850 per week for an average weekly wage. The insurance company then uses that to calculate your temporary disability. They'll take $850 and multiply it by 2/3. So the easiest way for you to do that is 850 times 2 divided by 3. That works out to $566.67. That is your temporary disability rate. So we started with $44,200 in a year. We got $850 as an average weekly wage. That equates to a temporary disability rate of $566.67. That's what the insurance company will pay. They'll pay it every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, a check will go out for double that amount. And that's what gets paid for up to 104 weeks. Needless to say, some of the math can be complicated, and there are a number of variables, as mentioned here, that will be covered in other videos. But that's temporary disability in a nutshell.